we talk about organization at text level, and sentence level is when the child, when you're talking about reading and talking, right? Reading and talking tends to happen at sentence level because you don't really have the full picture, right? When you're talking, the child is actually talking to you sentence by sentence, so you don't really have a full picture yet. So when we have speech and we're moving into writing, speaking alone will not lead the children to write. Speaking has to work at two levels because the speaking has to also help the child organize the way that she is telling you the story. The story that she's telling you must have a beginning, a middle, and an end. All right? So that is text level. Sentence level is when you ask questions and they give you a sentence, giving you back answers to the particular questions. That is at the sentence level. So both of these levels have to happen. So if we come back and we say, why, oh wow, I'm running out of time. Why doesn't my child like to write? What research has shown us is that why children don't like to write is they don't see any reason for writing. School homework is not reason enough. All right? They need an impetus. They need a reason. They need to know, why am I writing this for you? So create reasons for your children at any point that you can. All right? So we have reasons for a lot of things. So like this one, like I showed you, right? That there was a reason because she had just came back from school and she needed to tell me this. This was my daughter who apologizes, right? All right, I feel angry with myself. She didn't have the language to come. She was too upset with me and also too angry and shy to tell me that she felt bad. So she had a reason, all right? So there's a purpose in which she wanted to tell me this. And then, of course, you find when you encourage this kind of, you see this kind of, this was written because we were moving. All right, we moved from a house that we were living in, and we were moving to a smaller flat. My daughter thought that we had no more house to live in. All right, so she wrote to my husband to say, Poppy, I love you. Can you buy me a new house when I grow up? And so my husband wrote back to her, and he says, Can, Ruby, I will buy you a nice new house when you grow up, okay? So that was just a conversation. Why did it happen? Because she had a very strong feeling. She was feeling very, very, very sad that we were moving. And as a child, she didn't understand, all right? Why is it, do I not have a house anymore? Why am I leaving, etc.? So at that point, she just wanted reassurance, okay? And writing to and fro, that actually creates an awareness and acknowledgement of the child's need to communicate, the emotion that the child feels. So you need to give them a reason for writing. Another reason is they think they can't spell, all right? They're very frightened that they would not use the correct word. And you can see this in my daughter's, I'm sorry I keep making you do this, okay? Like, I'm sorry you can't see this, right? But it says, I hope you like my present, although I think you won't. All right? She thinks I won't, but I just wanted to say happy birthday, all right? So she's already got that sense of awareness or that fear. So this is not the time where you need to be the tiger mama who crushes the paper and throws away. You can't do those things, all right? It is an acknowledgement because there's a fear. They feel they can't spell. Another reason is they don't like to be made to do corrections. They don't like to rewrite something they've already written. They don't like rewriting. So my sense is accuracy is something you can let go for a while. Fluency is more important. Creativity is more important. They will learn because I have to tell you, there was one card. No, I don't have to show it. There was one card where your and your was spelled wrongly. My eldest daughter immediately said, it can't be me, because she was so particular about her spelling, but it doesn't matter. You can let it go, all right? Because you just want to get them writing. You just want that fluency. And importantly, the most important thing that research shows us is that they are not having the right thing being said to them about their writing. And this is essentially not going to happen very much in school. Because in school, we have got a different agenda. We need to correct, all right? So the red pen has to come out. But you, as the parent, don't have to have a red pen, All right? You just need to have to be able to enjoy the writing, because the more you enjoy your child's writing, the more she will enjoy it. Okay? So, if you had a sentence like this, which would you encourage? Do you think the second sentence is correct? Better? I would be happier if my daughter wrote my first sentence than the second sentence. Right? And you will find that as you go higher, especially when we just had the Cambridge markers down for secondary school marking, and the Cambridge markers who came down for secondary school said, we would rather see a child attempt an interesting vocabulary and make a spelling mistake than give me something that an ordinary writing would go. All right? So, if the child is using this language, encourage it. All right? And the important thing is that you don't get this correctness trap, because the moment you start this correctness trap, children begin to feel judged. All right? And I know that there's a place for it. I'm not saying that spelling and punctuation are not important. I'm saying there is a place for it. But I'm saying when you are encouraging your child to write, right? It is far better that you encourage the use of languages, even if they don't know how to spell, than to insist that accuracy be there. Same thing with speech. If you find that your child is doing oral presentation, accuracy is less important than fluency. Just get the child speaking, enjoying speaking, just enjoy having you listen to him. It's far more interesting for him. So say the right things, and remember, you're not a critic, you're a coach. All right? And the coach focuses on what the child is doing right. You are not the ones who are sitting there and giving 3-star, 4-star. You are their coach, you are their cheerleader. All right? And the more we can cheerlead for them in the house, the more important it is, because there's so many critics out there. All right? And I think we don't need another critic at home. We just need coaches at home. And so ask questions about what they write. All right? And even when they draw pictures, you can ask them questions about where you need details, because then they will give you the information, right? Okay. Now I'm going to, so if you start with the pictures that the children draw for you. I'm going to go on to the next section, which is how can I help my child get excited. So I'm just going to summarize very quickly what we have talked about so far. Important thing about recognizing the language model. Remember that there are receptive skills and productive skills. Remember that the child has to listen first, he then imitates, he innovates, and he invents, right? And we talked about the importance of creating a family environment, a family culture that helps them to write. So I'm going to just look at a few strategies that we can use. This is what most children stare with. What can I write when I've got nothing to say? Why do they have nothing to say? They will not have anything to say if we have not fed them. All right? If they have not heard, remember the receptive skills. The receptive skills need to be used. They need to listen, they need to read. That is the foundation from which the speaking and the writing is going to come. And writing, you will find this again in your primary school child's syllabus. It's very important. The child must have a purpose. Remember the first reason from research, they don't know why they are writing. All right? If they have a purpose, it helps them because later on when they go into school and they're given situational writing, they have a greater sense of purpose. All right? They need to start from young because this sense of purpose needs to be internalized. So at home, the child must have a purpose, must have an audience, he must have a context. All right? Because this is exactly what she's going to be asked to do when she goes into school and starts doing formal writing. Purpose is having a very clear sense of why am I writing this? Because I will write differently if I have different purposes. If I'm writing a letter of complaint, it's different from if I'm writing a story, it's different. If I'm writing a report to my principal, it's different. And the child needs to internalize and be aware that writing for different purposes requires different kind of writing. And the child writes because the child needs to have an awareness of audience. Who am I writing to? All right? Because your language will change according to who you're writing to. So when the child is writing to me and saying she's sorry, she knows she's got a different audience. But when my child starts writing a book, she's got a different audience altogether. All right? And context, in what situation is she writing? Encouraging the child to write in different situations, in different contexts, is very important, because then the child begins to know how to express her emotion in the different contexts that she is writing in. All right? So, your teachers, when your child goes to school, your teacher will start talking about PAC, right? Or they are quite familiar with the syllabus in this. Purpose, audience, and context. And constantly creating this awareness for your children. I'm going to see how. No matter where your child is, whichever level, whether she is 5 or whether she is 8 or whether she is 10 or 11, or even in the children who are 18 or adults, you encourage your child to read when you are looking at the 3 C's. Connect. Helping the child to connect with himself, all right? His feelings, his emotions, connecting with what is important to him. Look at what goes on YouTube, look at what happens on Facebook, look at what people are tweeting about. What are they connecting with? They're connecting with their own emotions first, right? And then they feel this sense of connection, then they want to share, right? So connecting first with themselves, and then there is a sense of wanting to connect with their friend. Why do they want to go on Facebook and say, I'm at such a place having coffee with my friend? Or else they take a photograph of the menu and say, guess what I'm going to eat now? Why? Because there's this intense sense that the children have of wanting to connect, and social media has made this easier for them, all right? But as parents, we need to tap this as well. Because you are their first person before they become teenagers. Huh? When they still want to connect with you, we need to use it, all right? To connect with us, to connect with their own feelings, to give them a voice for their feelings, right? Challenge is a little bit of stretching, not taking the Rosyth School exam paper and then giving your child and then saying you need to write this kind, not that challenge, but challenge as in looking at the child's writing and asking questions so that the child can give you a little bit more detail. So the child can say, is there another word that you could have used, right? So you challenge by asking the child based on his own work, right? This is the first time that I took a holiday without my daughter. So my older one is a lot more confident. So she can tell me why, right? That she just thinks about me going to Malacca, she wants to cry already, but that's fine. Now I want you to look at my second one, right? She says, I hope you'll be back home quickly and come home as fast as you can, okay? You know, I'm quite sad you're not fetching me, this bit. This is fetching her from school because I fetch her from school every day, right? I'm quite sad that you're not fetching me, but I'm very sad that you are going. So, what is that? That is grading of feeling, degree of emotion. All right? So, when you give them the opportunities to verbalize emotions, to connect with their thing, then they begin to know that there are degrees of sadness that we can face. All right? That there is some sadness, a little bit more sadness. What language can you use? All right? So that is the point at which when I talk to her and I'll say, yes, darling, I know you're disappointed that I'm not fetching you from school. All right? So I've given her another word for a smaller degree of sadness. All right? But then I don't think you need to be so devastated because I'm coming back. All right? So when I speak to her, that is where the speaking creates it, because the first important thing has already happened. She has already connected with her emotion. I already have a context. All right? I have a context, and she has a purpose. She wants to tell me how sad she is. But I need to help her build the vocabulary to talk about the differentiation and the degree of emotions, right? So start from where your child is. Connecting, right? When we talk about connecting, your child has a huge range of interests. Work from the area of interests, all right? Watch your child, look at what your child is reading, look at what your child is listening to, what your child talks about, what gets your child perked up. Start from there to start your talk, right? To start your writing. And then constantly make her think in terms of her senses, all right? So whatever the experience is, wherever the child is, connect back to the senses. What does she hear? What does she smell? What does she see? Right? And encourage the child to name and to describe this particular emotion. So that's where your connecting comes. and then you challenge. So you want to move from the concrete to the abstract, right? So this is the picture that I first showed you. So this was after I had done, I was sharing in my church, and so I had my daughter sitting there. I gave her paper and pen to draw, right? So first she drew this picture, right? This whole picture here. So after she draws the picture, I'm moving from visual to text, right? So I said, darling, can you write for me what you were thinking when you drew this picture? So that was me, and then she tripped over the can. So that's what happened to me, apparently, because I was actually sharing a testimony about how I had gone through a difficult time, and I'd been very encouraged and so on. So I realized that she was listening, and she had got the gist of my story. She did not know what it was all about, but there was my encouragement. So if you fall down, God will be there for you. So it's moving from visual to text. All right? But that happens because once the child has drawn something for you, ask the child. All right? Ask the child, what is it? What do you want to tell me through this? Or what does this picture describe? All right? And help her to write this. And if she wants to start by talking to you about it, then you write it for her. All right? So you basically are also practicing the formation of opinion, what she essentially feels or thinks about the issue. Give her choice, because for her own sake, not for an assignment, not because somebody else requires it, but her own enjoyment, all right? So that is how all these created. Now,